Hi, my magical creatures, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is we're going to be talking about telepathy. I had a subscriber that wanted to know about that psychic ability. So we are going to talk about that, and I'm going to teach you and tell you guys about telepathy. So before we begin, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, a like, and don't forget to subscribe. It's a free way to help your girl out. So let's get started. All right. So, what is telepathy? What is that? Telepathy is basically the psychic ability to talk to people with your mind and picking up information from other people. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be words. It can be through emotions, picking up on people's emotions, feeling their emotions and stuff. I know that's like empathy, but it's also telepathy too. Like that you pick up on, like you're sensing that they're angry or I feel like that's a form of telepathy too. Telepathy is basically people that have claimed to experience telepathy. I've experienced it myself. Let's start with the experiences that people have experienced. So it's been documented that people being abducted by aliens, other beings from other worlds and stuff that come here to visit or to do experiments on people and stuff. A lot of people that have been abducted, it's not always the same experience, but it's similar. Like they've all said that when the beings would talk to them, they were talking to them in their head and their lips weren't moving. And that's what a lot of people say. So it's very clear that these higher up beings speak telepathically. Also, too, there was a lady that went to Mount Shasta and she went up into the mountains. She went by herself, which I think she's really brave. She went, saw a tall man dressed in a white robe up in the mountains, which is a Lemurian. And she said that the Lemurian so she asked the Lemurian, like, hey, like, are you lost? Like, are you okay? And the Lemurian said that he started like talking to her telepathically in her head. And she even said to like his lips weren't moving, but he was talking to me telepathically. And then after he was done talking to her, he like teleported, like disappeared. So definitely there are cases of that. Me specifically as a psychic person, I've had telepathic contact with my angels where I've heard their voices in my head, or like people that, when they're driving their car and then something says like to stop or whatever, or turn left, and then they end up listening and then they ended up avoiding like a car accident like a few seconds prior. So that's like another form of like telepathy, telepathic. Also, too, as a psychic medium, when I talk to my angels or when I talk to spirit, it's the same thing. I'm hearing it in my head too. But it's really interesting though, because the thoughts are so random. Like, you know how when you're talking to yourself and you're thinking and stuff, like you pretty much know what's going to be said. When I talk to spirits or angels, they kind of talk in a like each person is different. But I notice with like angels, when they talk to me, they talk like in a very like old, like old, like how people like indeed, like when I would talk to Archangel Michael, he would always be like, indeed, yes, indeed. Like very like old, uh, very like early 16th century, like language. Like they use like vocabulary that I wouldn't know. Like one time, Archangel Michael was like, "Oh, it's okay. Like you're just being prudent." It's like prudent. What does that mean? There's times where I've had to look it up. And then there was like another time too where I was playing, and the word went with what me and Archangel Michael was talking about. And then also too, I was playing a video game, and it was a Japanese video game, and I'm like obsessed with like Japanese culture and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, when I was playing the game, gaijin, like the word gaijin, and I don't know any Japanese. Like I know like very like konnichiwa, you know, like the basics, but I don't know like Japanese like that. All of a sudden in my head, it was like a somebody talking to me in my head, but they were speaking Japanese, and I was like, what? And so in the game, when I was playing the game, there was these like monsters in the game, and it was like Japanese, like I think they were like spirits or something like that. But like they were entering from like the spirit world into the human world or whatever. They were like trying to take over. It was like in the video game. But I heard the word when that scene was happening in the video game. I heard someone talk to me saying, "Oh, gaijin, those gaijin," and I was like, gaijin. I was like, "What's a gaijin?" So I looked it up. It was Japanese. It means foreigner. And so I asked my angels, I was like, why did you guys say, because at first I didn't understand. I was like, foreigner. So I heard the word gaijin, right? Foreigner. And then the angels were telling me, like, yeah, like in the video game, those spirits that were turning into like physical creatures or whatever into the physical world, they're gaijins, like they're foreigners because they are leaving the spirit world and entering a new foreign land. And I just thought that was so crazy. So I know that that's telepathic contact as well. And I've even had telepathic contact with like the Pleiades too, as well. They're like these tall Nordic beings, but they're really nice. They're like angels, but extraterrestrial, if that makes sense. But yeah, so that's kind of my experiences with telepathy. Also, too, there was a time where I was in high school and I would talk to the Fae, which are the fairies, and they would talk to me telepathically too. They communicate telepathically. I remember there was a period where they were just talking to me constantly, and I was just like, like, oh my gosh, like they're here. And I remember watching a movie, and I was scrolling to see like what movie, and I saw like a movie of it was like The Rock, and he was like on a unicorn, like riding a peg, or I think it was like a unicorn, yeah. And then it had like the horn and everything. And all of a sudden, I just heard a voice that said, "Oh my gosh, how embarrassing!" Sure enough, at first I didn't understand it, but then I felt when they were telepathically talking to me, I kind of felt what they were trying to say and what they were trying to say because The Rock is very like a masculine man, and then all of a sudden you just see him riding a unicorn. So I totally understood what they were saying, and I totally heard that. I was just like, oh my gosh. And then when I was getting the hang of like talking to my angels and stuff, I even asked, like, just as like a test round, there was like something like a little dot that was like in the corner of the wall, and I just remember asking my angel, guardian angel, I said, is that like a spider like in that corner of the wall? And I just wanted to see what she was going to say. And then she said, yes, she said it's balled up in its nest. And when I got closer, because at first I didn't even know what it was, it was just like a dot. And once I got closer, I looked and it was a spider, and it had like a little web, and yeah, it was like balled up in its nest, like its legs and everything. It was like balled up, like sleep. I guess it was sleeping or something. And then so I touched it, and sure enough, it was alive. And then it like spread out, and then it like crawled away. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So telepathy is definitely very real. You may even also experience telepathy with, it doesn't even have to be like spiritual beings, but it can definitely be with other people too. Like someone that you're very close with, like your friend, or like a best friend, or your sister, your brother, or like you're really close with your mom. Like sometimes you'll get like a thought, like, hey, like you keep thinking about someone, and then like you pick up on like their frequency because they're thinking about you, and then you end up calling them. They're like, hey, I was just thinking about you. Or you answer the phone, and then it's them calling you, and then you're like, oh my god, I was just thinking about you. Like that's a form of telepathy too, as well. You're picking up on their frequency, their vibrations as well. I know for me and my mom, we were very close, and she was very psychic as well, very sensitive psychic, and of course I inherited that from her. And me and her, we would always read each other. But me and her, because we were so open with each other, like really like close and connected, I knew a lot of things. Like I would see things in her head. And then I said, Mom, like I saw this, like what is going on with that? And then she would always say, like, get out of my head. And then also too, there was a time where she was pregnant, but she didn't know. And I saw it. I said, Mom, I keep seeing a baby in your, in your stomach, And she said, I'm not pregnant. I'm not. And then sure enough, a week later, she had like a miscarriage. So definitely this telepathy is very real. Ways to practice telepathy is that you can do it with someone. You need like another person to do it with, and one person thinks of something, and then let's say like you sit there, so like you're the receiver and this person is like the, I guess, the giver. So let's say like this person's thinking of, I don't know, like a cat, and then this person is like a cat, like just thinking of a cat, and like imagine the person is like, imagine a white cord from his head, his brain, to your brain, and then imagine the picture that what he's trying to send you, and then imagine the picture being sent to you through that white cord to your brain, and then just relax and feel what you get and see what comes through. And that's like a form of practicing telepathy. Thinking about someone like obsessively, that's like another form too where they can pick up on that, but I don't really recommend that. um how I got my ex to call me was that I was thinking about him obsessively, and this wasn't any witchcraft or anything like that. I did not cast a spell on him. I would never do that to anyone, but I wanted him to call me. He wasn't answering my calls or anything like that, so for 3 days straight I would visualize him calling me, and I just kept thinking about him obsessively, just kept thinking about him because I was trying to make contact with him telepathically. And so he was picking up on that, and then he like gave me a call like 3 days later. And I was like, hey, I was just talking to you. He was like, I don't know why, but I kept thinking about you. And I was like, yeah, because I was trying to contact you telepathically. And then he's just like, oh, okay. So that's like another way too that you can try to get someone to message you back or call you. But yeah, super easy. We all have it. And I do believe that when we evolve even more, I do believe that telepathy is like not necessarily just hearing voice, like hearing thoughts being transverse, but just like I think the beginning stages of telepathy is like, when you see someone, you automatically know, like, hey, like what's wrong? Like something's wrong. Like you already know. You can sense that, feel that. Also too, like emotions too. You can tell, like, because especially when you're really close with someone, when you're connected, that telepathic bond. Even twins, like they call it like twin lethality, twin twin lethality. I think that's what it's called. So that's like another thing too on that as well. But yes, telepathy is very, very, very real, and I've experienced it. I've heard other people's stories about it, and it sounds like the way they explain it was just like how I've experienced it. So before we end this video, let's do an angel card, and let's see what the angels have to say about telepathy. So what I got was all is well, Archangel Jeremiel. Everything is happening exactly as it's supposed to. With hidden blessings, you'll soon understand. So what I'm getting with this card is that you see the purple. It's nothing but purple. And that is the third eye chakra. The third eye chakra is all about psychic ability, intuition. Telepathy resides here. And so when you open your third eye and exercise that chakra, balance, cleanse, open that, your third eye, then that's when you'll start being more sensitive around here. And then you'll start picking up on people's energies and on, telepathic frequencies and stuff like that. And the goal that I see around here is that bringing golden light from the heavens and encase yourself in like a golden bubble, all around you, encapsulating you, so that way you're protected. because when you're being psychically open, especially telepathically, you're very sensitive, you're feeling energies, and because thoughts is energy. So you want to make sure you're not just picking up on anything and everything, but putting up a golden light around you is going to help protect you. So it will help filter out like the negative stuff. So you're not necessarily picking up on things that you don't really want to see or pick up on. Also what I was getting from my angels too, and then clairvoyantly what I saw was like this video is like an evolutionary step. So learning about this stuff is going to help you with your evolution, you know, spiritually. And what I was getting to, like that the angels was telling me to, another way how you can practice telepathy, just sit with someone that you could trust, and just calm your thoughts, calm your mind. Even like God was like telling me that you just need to relax. Just relax and know that you're fine, that you got this. And then after that's done, just see what comes. Like focus your intention on the person that you're trying to like read for. Like you want to read like what they're thinking, your intention, and then just see what pops into your mind. It may be a feeling, it may be words, it may be, but it's like a thought. And then after you're done sensing it, then ask that person like, hey, like what did were you thinking of this? And then see what they say. Definitely do that. So definitely, have you had telepathic experiences? Leave your comments down below in the comments. I would like to hear about it. And also too, if you would like a private in-depth reading, my website is right here. So you can book a psychic reading with me. And don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Stay magical.